Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this video, we will discuss the analysis of the conversion ratio of the buck converter in the discontinuous conduction mode. In the last video, we have discussed about the discontinuous conduction mode for the buck converter, and I promised that we will drive an expression for the discontinuous conduction mode for the gain of the buck converter. So how to work with the gain for the buck converter for the discontinuous conduction mode? We will use the same principle that we have discussed in the previous videos, that the average inductor voltage should be 0, that is the volt second balance should be maintained, and that should be equal to 0 for your inductor voltage, and the capacitor charge balance should be there, that is the average current through the capacitor should be 0, right? And we will be assuming the small ripple approximation, that is the V of t is nearly equal to the average value, as delta V is very small as compared to the V, and similarly we will be applying small ripple approximation that I of t will be approaching to I. Sometimes it may be the poor one, but as far as the basic undergraduate level is concerned, at this you should be assuming that one, and you should do the analysis with this. Okay, now let's look at the three modes of operation that we discussed in the last lecture. That in the DCM mode, your switch will be in the on state. One mode of operation will be that one, when your switch is on, so diode will be in the off state, and this will be the loop of the current, or this will be the loop, and this will be the equivalent circuit for the first mode of operation. In the second mode of operation, your diode will be conducting and this switch will be in the off state, and that you can see over here, it is off and your diode is replaced with the short circuit. So this is your equivalent circuit. And in the third mode of operation, your diode and switch both are in the off state, because your circuit is in the discontinuous conduction mode. Your inductor current is not continuous, right? So that's why you have this third interval. So that can be shown in terms of the inductor current waveform. If I go back to the slides which were there in the last lecture, this one, for the discontinuous conduction mode, you have three parts. One, when your switch Q1 is conducting, inductor current is increasing. When diode is conducting, your inductor current is decreasing. And third one, when your no switch is conducting, no switch means Q1 is off, diode is off, so in that case your inductor current is 0. So we are discussing this DCM mode. So for that we have three modes of operation. One, when your switch Q1 is on, when your diode is on, and when no switch is on. So those are shown over here in this slide, that first mode circuit, second mode circuit, and the third mode circuit. So in order to look at the conversion ratio, we will have to look at the inductor voltage for each case. So let's look at the inductor voltage for the first mode of operation. The equivalent circuit is that one. So your inductor voltage will be equal to Vg, that is the voltage at this point, minus the load voltage, that is V of t at this point, right? And applying the small signal approximation, right, small ripple approximation, so you can write down in terms of the average value. So you can say that inductor voltage is simply equal to Vg minus V, where V is the average load voltage, right? And similarly, if you look at the capacitor current will be equal to the inductor current ILT minus the load current, and the load current is V of t by R. So this is the equation for the capacitor current, and again applying the small ripple approximation, we can write in terms of the average value like this, that ICT is equal to inductor current minus V by R, where V is the average load voltage. So the first mode of operation, we have written the inductor voltage and the capacitor current equations. Now same thing is to be done for the second mode of operation. In the second mode of operation, your equivalent circuit is this one, right? So inductor voltage is opposite of your load voltage, right? So that you can see over here, VL is equal to minus VT. Why it is opposite? Because you can see we have assumed positive over here and the negative of the inductor is over there. And when diode is on, this is connected over here. So inductor is connected in parallel to the load. So inductor voltage will be equal to the load voltage, but with the opposite polarity. And similarly, if you talk about the capacitor current, so inductor current is this one, ILT. So from here, if you subtract the ICT, you will get the load current, or this is the inductor current IL. From that, if you subtract the load current, so you will be getting the capacitor current. So inductor current minus the load current, you are going to get the capacitor current. So applying small ripple approximation for the voltage, So VL can be written as minus V, right? And for the capacitor, it will be equal to IL T minus V by R. We are just applying the small ripple approximation for the capacitor voltage. We are not applying it for the inductor current because we are discussing the DCM. In the DC induction mode, the average value of the current is very small and delta I is quite large. So we are not going to apply small ripple approximation over the current. We are just applying it over the voltage. In the third mode of operation, when no switch is on, your circuit will look like this, that your switch is off, your diode is off, the inductor is there floating, and the capacitor and the resistance. So what about the inductor voltage? As all the energy that was stored, half Li square in the inductor, is now dissipated, so inductor voltage is going to be 0, inductor current is going to be 0, and your capacitor, the charge stored in the capacitor, will maintain the voltage, will try to maintain the voltage across the load, and it will be providing the energy, the stored energy, to your load resistance. So this capacitor current will be equal to, if you look at this one, that IL inductor current minus the load current, so you will get the capacitor current. So looking at the components, you have this one. But what about inductor current? Inductor current is 0, so that is simply equal to minus V of T by R. And applying the small ripple approximation for the voltage, so VL inductor voltage, that is equal to 0, and the capacitor current can be written as minus V by R, right? So we have written the inductor voltage and capacitor current equation for all the three modes. Now combining all of them together, I have shown over here in this slide the first mode, the second mode, and the third mode. So in the first mode, if you look at the inductor voltage, that is Vg minus V. So inductor voltage is Vg minus V in the first mode of operation, that is for the D1 into Ts. In the second mode of operation, let's suppose that is for D2 into Ts, the inductor voltage is minus V, so that is shown over here. And in the third mode of operation, inductor voltage is 0, so that is indicated over here, that is for interval D3 into Ts, your inductor voltage is 0, and this cycle will be repeated. Now if you apply the volt second balance, that is the average area covered by this waveform, that should be equal to 0, then the average value across the inductor will be 0. So that is shown over here, d1 into Vg minus V, d1 Ts, basically T1 Ts into Vg minus V. This is Vg minus V, and this is d1 into Ts. This will give you this area, so that is this term, and minus V into d2 into Ts is this one, and the 0 into d3 Ts, that is basically this one, and the Ts is there with all of these terms. And to find out the average value of the inductor, we are going to divide it by Ts, so that's why this is cancelled out. So this is the volt second balance equation, and you are going to set it equal to 0, because average value of the inductor voltage should be equal to 0. So now if you solve it for the V, that is the load voltage, so this will give you this equation, that V is equal to Vg into d1 divided by d1 plus d2. But d2 is unknown in this case, because we don't know, because from the information of the duty cycle that you are applying, and you know about d, that is the on time of your switch, and that is equal to d1 over here, right? So you know only about d1, but you do not know about d2, because this is going to become 0 before the start of the next cycle. So d2 is unknown in this case. We will shortly work out for the d2. Okay, now let's look at the capacitor charge balance. We have seen the volt second balance for the inductor. Now we are going to look at the ampere second balance for the capacitor. So let's look at this note. The inductor current is going into the capacitor, and the average current is going to pass through the load resistance R, right? So inductor current is divided into two parts, ICT and VT by R. So what is the average current of your capacitor? That should be 0. So if I talk about the average inductor current, so that should be equal to Vt by R, average load current. The whole of the average current will be passing through the load resistance, and for capacitor it will be 0. So node equation says that inductor current should be equal to capacitor current plus the load average current, and we know that capacitor average current is 0, so load current should be equal to V by R, right? So we must compute DC component of the inductor, that is its average value, and we should equate it equal to load current, because for this circuit we have discussed that inductor current will be equal to V by R for this particular buck converter. Okay, so we have seen the inductor current waveform in the previous slides. In the first mode of operation, that is when our switch is on, that is the interval dt, as the inductor current will be increasing and its slope will be equal to Vg minus V by L. And in the second mode of operation, when the diode is on, that is for the interval d2s, inductor current will be decreasing and its slope will be minus V by L. And in the third mode of operation, your inductor current will be equal to 0, that is for d3 into ts. Right, and the average value of the inductor current will be somewhere over here, right, that is shown like this. Okay, so now you can see over here we have this triangle, right, and using the triangle equation and triangle area equation, we can find out the peak value of the inductor current. So let's do it. So inductor current waveform is this one, and how we can find out the peak value, as I told you, that we can use the triangle equation or we can use the simple line equation. So if I consider this part, so this is delta x, and if I look at this part, this is delta y. So delta y is equal to slope into delta x. So what is the slope? Slope is Vg minus V by L, and delta x is equal to d1 ts, and delta y is equal to the peak value of the current, peak value of your inductor current. So I can write it like that, and definitely it depends upon d1 and to t and ts, that is representing the time. So I d1 ts, that is equal to the peak value, will be given by this expression Vg minus V by L into d1 ts, right? So that is the peak value of the current. Now what is the average current? Average current of the inductor will be the area under the curve of this inductor waveform from 0 to ts, and for average we are going to divide it by ts. So how we can find out the area under this curve? So area for the triangular waveform, triangle, this is going to make a triangle, right? So we can use this expression half base into height. So what is the base? Base is from here to here, that is d1 ts plus d2 ts, that is the base. And what is the height? The height is equal to the peak current, this one, peak current, and we have evaluated the peak current over here, this is IPK. So we will be using this peak current from this equation, and we know that the base is this one. So half base, and this is the height. So half height into base. This is the area of the triangle. So this integral can be worked out, and that is equal to this part. And dividing it by ts, you will get the average value of the inductor current. So average value of the inductor current is obtained by dividing this term with the ts. So ts will be cancelled out. So you are left with this part. So IPK has been taken from here. So this is Vg minus V by L into d1 ts. So Vg minus V d1 ts by L. This is the value of the peak current d1 plus d2 into ts from here, and that is this one, and the ts of this one is cancelled with the ts that was over here in this expression. So this is the average value of the inductor current, right? And this should be equal to the load current. So we are going to equate it equal to load current, that is V by R. This is the value from here, the average value of the inductor current, and that should be equal to the load current, because your inductor current on average is going towards your load. So by equating these two, now we have two equations. One equation is this one. Let me call it equation 2, that we have just set up while looking at the inductor current and equating it equal to the load current, and that is written over here, right? And the second equation that we worked in the previous slide, if I go back and look at this part, V is equal to Vg into d1 by d1 plus d2. So let me call it equation 1. So taking this equation now from here, so this is from equation 1 and this is the equation 2. So now we have two equations and we have two unknowns. Two unknowns are the V and the d2. So we can solve it by eliminating the d2. So if we eliminate the d2 from here, work out for the expression for d2 and put it over here, and they simplify and rearrange, so you will get this expression, that is V by Vg is equal to 2 divided by 1 plus under root 1 plus 4k divided by d1 square. So what is k? K is equal to 2L by RTS. We have defined this k in the previous video when we were discussing the DCM for the buck converter. And for all the converters, we will stick to this value of the k, buck converter, boost converter, or the buck boost converter. And this is only valid for the DCM when the k is less than the critical value that is for buck converter, the critical value is D prime if you are considering the ideal semiconductor devices and the ideal components. For the non-ideal components, this will be different and you can work out for that one. Okay, so from here you can see now that your gain of the converter is the function of the D1 and the function of the K. If circuit parameters changes, then this gain will be changed. So we are going to write it like that, at MDK. M is the function of the duty cycle, N is the function of the K, and K depends upon the circuit parameters. Okay, so now if we sketch that one, that if your circuit is operating in the continuous conduction mode, when K is greater than the critical value, then the gain will be equal to simply D. For the buck converter, you know that V by Vg is equal to D, or V is equal to D times Vg, right? But for the DCM mode, M is equal to, the gain is equal to this one. This equation is defining. So for DCM mode, we have this expression for the gain when K is less than the critical value, that is for the discontinuous conduction mode. So now let's sketch this one. If the value of the K is varied along with the D, so here you can see the graph giving you about the gain. So when the K is greater than or equal to 1, then your circuit will be operating in the CCM mode. So you will be over here somewhere. But if you decrease the value of the K, then the circuit gain will be like that. This is for the K is equal to 0.5, this is K is equal to 0.1. If you keep the value of the K equal to 0.1, and if you change the duty cycle, that you can see over here, the gain is going to vary like this. And for the small value of the K, for the small value of the gain K, you have the higher gains as compared to the higher values of the K. So for smaller values of the K, higher gains. For higher value of the K, the gain is reduced for one particular duty cycle. So let's evaluate at this point. Let's suppose that the D is nearly equal to 0.5. So over here, if I say that if the K is equal to 0.5, our gain will be round about 0.4, 0.48, right? And if we have the value of the K equal to 0.1, our gain will be approaching to 0.75, and over here it will be very high, approaching to 0.95 approximately. So as you change the gain, if you change the circuit constants, because K depends upon the circuit constant, K is equal to 2L by RTS, right? So inductance, it depends upon inductance, load resistance, and the TS. So if you change the load resistance, you change the average current, this K will be changing, and when this K will be changing, so the gain of your converter will be changing. So your circuit operates in a different way in the DCM mode, that is the discontinuous conduction mode, as compared to your continuous conduction mode. So if I conclude this video, we have worked out and we have discussed in detail about the DCM analysis of the buck converter, and we have seen that how we can find out the gain for the discontinuous conduction mode. But one thing that is important to be mentioned over here, that we have done it considering the ideal components, ignoring the internal resistance of the inductor, resistance of the switches, voltage drop across the diode. If you consider that one, the analysis is a bit complex. The interested one can work out at their own end, or we will be discussing later on in the upcoming videos. That's all from this video. Thank you very much.